wake up and welcome to the final episode of the year of the media cast. I try to make it a media Friday, but let's be honest, there are so many things happening. Let's see how season 2 looks like. Maybe we have to rename and do like a media podcast, media cast more frequently. Let's see. I haven't been too active with the media cast thing in the last few weeks for several reasons, because I've been busy with being in the media. But let's try to make this a real and a recurring thing on the Funkin' Pod again in the new year. And I thought to show that I'm actually really into this, I want to talk about a few things that I've seen over the past year in the media. So it's basically my quick media wrap up, like 10 minutes or so at the end of the year, to just quickly recap what happened in the media and so on. So, in no particular order, to be honest, though, I'm just talking about a few things that I thought are worth mentioning. And the first thing, when I thought about this, right, doing this, the first thing that came to mind is fake news is still a thing. Disinformation. You would have thought that over the last 5 years or so, since the term fake news has been coined and has been in the media for so much, right? You would have thought that we as, educated people would eventually figure things out, would be aware of it, would not fall for it anymore. But disinformation, and yeah, of course it's very sophisticated, but Joe Rogan talks about those troll files from Russia and so on. So yeah, of course, but shouldn't we as media literate people be aware of that? And that's another point on media literacy. Like everyone with social media, but media literacy seems not to be a given anymore. I mean, it's never really been, but I hope you know or you understand what I mean or where I'm coming from. Like just because you have access to media doesn't mean you're media literate automatically. Just because you know that like you can go to brand new youtube.com to see different videos doesn't make you media literate. Understanding that everybody's can upload stuff there, for example, is an important part of the whole issue. And of course, and I don't want to go down on the politics road, and we know why this is happening. We know also, because I talked about this on this podcast, and I will talk about it in the new year again, I'm sure. Of course, because panic sells, and panic is good for everybody. And if you haven't, watch the movie Don't Look Up on Netflix with all the stars in the world. You know, DiCaprio, who else? There's too many I forgot now because I'm too enraged. Ariana Grande has a guest spot in there. Jonah Hill is amazing in there as the son of the first of the president. The president, Meryl Streep, I was thinking, how can I forget the name? Meryl Streep as the president is fantastic. And they make use of this too. They make use of the moral panic principle when, no spoilers, but when shit hits the fan, then they're also using this moral panic thing. So panic sells. We know this, Netflix knows, everybody knows this. The thing is though, after being exposed to media forever, why don't we understand it? And yet it always goes back to this one point I just made. It's that you who are probably listening to this podcast, who are aware of media and so on, we people in our area might not be doing the best job to educate others more. And people in a position of power who could do this, of course, they don't want to, because they know it's easier if people are not media literate enough. So it's easier to control them. Yes, there will be. I'm writing a book on this, and yeah, that's also a reason why I didn't do this podcast in a bit. Because I always get stuck in this loop of being angry, as you can see right now. So I'm trying to get out of this loop, and then we discuss this more, and we'll have an actual episode on this, and also talk with a few specialists on the matter, psychologists and so on. So this is coming in the new year for season 2. But yeah, so this disinformation is still a thing, is bothering me. And one of my high/lowlights of the year, because people, educate yourself, educate your close ones, educate as many people as you can. We need to get out of this loop of disinformation and fake news making us hate each other. So that's one thing that's bothering me. The second highlight of the year /lowlight goes hand in hand with this. Cancel culture is still a thing. And it's a big thing. And also, for me, I'm thinking, like, why? I mean, again, we understand why. But in 2021, again, we should have been exposed to cancel culture enough to realize why it's happening. Also, people who are canceling others should have understood by now why the media, for example, runs with certain cancel culture stories and why they are being pushed and why they're being supported from different walks of life. Not saying that not everybody who got canceled shouldn't have been canceled. However, that cancel culture is such a big thing that it's cool to cancel people. It's ridiculous. And again, I'm not going to make this like a political podcast because I'm neither super left nor super right, I think. I'm not going to tell you, like, I think we should have compromises and you can see things from different points of view. And I'm going to get criticized for that. And so this cancel culture thing, just only seeing things black and white. And if you're not in my team, you're the opponent, you're the enemy, and I have to cancel you. And this is just something that is really upsetting. So I hope that also eventually we're getting out of this. And I thought for a split second, and maybe like a pandemic like COVID would bring us closer together. Maybe we would need a comet hitting Earth to bring us together. That's a reference to the movie Don't Look Up. If you haven't seen it yet, watch it. So cancel culture is still a thing, still very bothersome. And I find myself agreeing with like people like Gad Saad on Twitter, not in regards to everything by all means. I'm definitely not agreeing with lots of things that people like him, like Gad Saad, Jordan Peterson, and some are putting out. But in this regard, with like the cancel culture, I do understand why they are so snarky by now when it comes to interacting with people from the extreme left in this case. I'm sure they would also do the same thing with people from the extreme right, but cancel culture very often comes from the left, at least the one that we are seeing in the media. So I do understand why they become so snarky, because eventually you just lose your patience. So I hope we all can be more patient with each other and see that canceling each other and fighting against each other doesn't bring us as a whole forward. And that's what we want, right? Only then can we make real change, if we move forward together. All those stupid motivational posts on IG that you're liking all the time, like if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go further, go together. And all. I'm sure you all like those things. Why not act like it? Do you only want to go with those who share the same opinion as you? Isn't it boring? Just why not go further as all together, and then we can have different opinions, argue about it like civilized people, and then come to the best compromise for everyone, and then we can evolve. Wouldn't that be awesome? Hashtag Monday motivation or Sunday motivation. All right, so but now I also want to talk about a few positive things. So what I also realized this year in the media was that podcasts, nothing new of course, you're listening or watching this one right now, podcast and /independent media has taken off. Like, it's been on the rise for a long time, but I think maybe even thanks to COVID, to the pandemic, we're all at home, we're exposed to more media content all the time, that this has taken really off. Like, of course, Joe Rogan on the helm, and then this Funkit pod, like right behind Joe Rogan, of course. But we see so many podcasts now being successful, like just a few examples, Call Her Daddy, for example, just to also mention something else. Joe Rogan, of course, a Flagrant 2 with Andrew Schulz and Akash Singh is amazing. But also then programs on YouTube, like the Pat McAfee show now having this $120 million, I think, ad, whatever deal, right? With this gambling, whatever website. That's a different thing. If I'm not a big fan of gambling sites being that heavily involved in everything. And I'm very much into sports, and you notice if you watch the other of my podcasts. So I'm not sure if influencers, so to speak, journalists, hello Ariel Helwani, should be advertising for gambling sites. I'm not sure if it's a good thing, but congratulations to the success, of course. Then there's also other independent media like Breaking Points with Saga and Jetty and Crystal Ball. And I'm not saying this because I'm a big fan or anything. I do appreciate what they're doing, though. I disagree with especially Saga very often, and I do comment quite a lot on his Instagram posts. I'm not sure if he ever sees me, of course, but I'm always very critical very often critical of some of his posts, but doesn't. And you can see you can have a different points of view. That doesn't negate that I respect what they build with Breaking Points, for example. So the whole podcast independent media just is something that I think is taking off. Maybe also because fake news, disinformation is such a big thing, and lots of us are looking for different outlets, which of course in return could also lead to disinformation independent media gaining traction. But overall, I think it's very interesting to see that it's not only mainstream media that's giving us content that is being consumed heavily, but also independent media. And then lots of those independent channels, of course, are being picked up by mainstreamish media, of course, like the Call It Daddy podcast, like Joe Rogan going to Spotify. But overall, this still shows that independent media can lead to something. Now I'm actually almost taking that back, because independent media, if you're successful, you're getting bought up by Spotify or by Barstool or something, and then you're not independent media anymore. But I think you get the point. Okay, let's hope. Also, on a more positive note, I saw lots of non-English content being successful. For example, on Netflix. We had Squid Game, of course. We had La Casa de Papel, Money Heist. Yes, I'm a hipster, watches in Spanish. Just as a few examples. So I think lots of the top trending Netflix content wasn't English speaking this year. We even had a German show, I believe, because I'm German, as you know, trending for a while, like How to Sell Drugs Online Fast. Fantastic show, by the way. That was just something that I found very interesting. So it doesn't necessarily need to be from Hollywood to be successful. While, of course, I'm sure Hollywood movies like The Rock's movie, Red Notice with Ryan Reynolds, and now, of course, Don't Look Up with Leonardo DiCaprio, Meryl Streep, and everybody basically probably tops the charts now in terms of movies. But shows seem to have gotten lots of traction that have not been produced in Hollywood necessarily, which is pretty interesting. What then I find also interesting / alarming, maybe a little bit, is the fact, though, that the cult potential of those shows, like La Casa de Papel, right, Money Heist, and everyone was running around in those red jumpsuits at Halloween last year. Halloween this year, still red jumpsuits for the Squid Games and so on. So the audience seems to long for something to identify with. Maybe that's also because, and I fall into my German accent right now, I can hear that. Sorry. Maybe that's also because we weren't able to go out as much and identify with our favorite sports teams, concerts, and so on. So that then you identify with things like this a little bit more. Maybe should do some research on that. So, but this cult potential and how people jump onto it, was kind of crazy to see. Because I'm used to it from music bands, right, from K-pop, BTS, and so on, Blackpink in your area, and alike, Heart Lisa, but for Netflix shows, that was kind of surprising to me, but also kind of cool / interesting to see. All right, the last thing that I then, of course, also have to mention what we've seen in the media is, the second but last, censorship is still a thing. And luckily it doesn't really work that much anymore, but we see it like in, of course, China are still there. Myanmar, they're still hashtag what's happening in Myanmar. Please don't forget that. I mentioned this many, many times here in the podcast because it's still ongoing. It's crazy. So send your thoughts, prayers, but also do something. Share what's happening in Myanmar. Stay informed. Don't necessarily believe what's coming out from the government there. And then the last thing that I wanted to say, what I saw as like trends in the media this year is the search for the next big thing. And that search is always there, of course, but this year, maybe also because, again, pandemic, more exposed to media, more staying at home, more consuming everything, or also then more people trying to find the next big thing because there's nothing else to do. We have crypto boom everywhere, of course, lots of crypto platforms, blockchain everywhere, NFTs booming, Bored Apes, people, and so on. Also news coming here soon, by the way, not about people, about NFTs. The metaverse, Facebook calling itself meta, everything is meta. Sandbox, for example, Snoop Dogg already being on Sandbox, like the first kind of metaverse. Baidu just announced their own metaverse yesterday or the day before yesterday, like on Christmas. Baidu, the Chinese search giant, announced its own metaverse. So you can see, listen to Joe Rogan and Tim Dillon talking about the metaverse. Tim Dillon is a great comedian, makes fun of it, but he kind of like hits the nail on its head. I think that's how you say it in English, right? There will be different levels of metaverses, and not every metaverse will be for everybody. So that's gonna happen. It's gonna be a caste system, for sure. Oh, it's gonna be terrible. So yeah, different metaverses out there already. Then apps like Clubhouse, for example, rest in peace. Who's still on Clubhouse? Nobody, right? But Clubhouse taking off so fast. Get those investors in Clubhouse. Oh my God, it's money laundering anyways, right? So, but I'm guessing, not saying it is. Allegedly, I'm guessing, not saying it is. But like the search for something new, right? It's just like we're longing for something like the next big thing that's gonna be the next big thing. And I need to be part of it. I think that has been. This feeling, this need has been bigger than ever. And I think if COVID keeps us like locked up, locked down, whatever you want to call it, for a bit longer, then this is probably something we will keep seeing. Also, maybe because now the new generation is exposed to that, maybe it's just like part of life now, the new thing, and let's go fast and be involved and let's blow it up and just hope that it works. And if not, let's hope that enough people are invested so that we can still get a profit. Sad. Okay, so that's my media highlights for the year 2021. Again, making this a short one so I can still wish you Merry Christmas. It's the last day of Christmas here while I'm recording this. And of course, a very happy New Year. I had a few, I know, not too happy, outlooks here right now, but also very, very like happy ones, right? Positive ones, like content, for example, independent media, and so on. So I am looking forward to the next year to see what it brings. Also, the search for the next big thing. Maybe there's the next big, like, fake news killer out there, for example. Yeah. So who knows? Blockchain powered news resource, for example. Yeah, so there must be something positive out there, right? Yeah. Let's leave it with this. Something positive must be out there. If you haven't watched Don't Look Up, because it's cool, funny, and the references just make sense, and maybe even this quick, sometimes witty, sometimes sad movie can make you think a little bit and reflect on what we're doing right now with our like left and right, and everyone's going against each other. All right, that's it. As always, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Subscribe would be cool, of course, and rate the podcast. It would be fantastic if you're listening to the podcast, rate it on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever, because more people can find it, and we can have more discussions and hopefully also reach more people and maybe come up with a few more ideas in regards to how to fix the world, fix the media world, maybe even. Let's take it slow. Fix the media world first, and then we save the rest of the planet. All right, as always, thanks for being on this journey with me. Episode season 2 will have more guests, maybe also. I'm not sure if we make it longer, but we'll have more guests again, of course, more interviews, hopefully also a few in person, but definitely more remote interviews as well. So stay tuned for this. As always, thanks for being here. Stay safe. Take care. Happy New Year. Sawadee Krap.